recognizing the importance of how healthcare is one of the most effective ways in which we're able to create safe communities. There are conditions that are, in most instances, as we recognize it in the African American community, are being assaulted. Hospitals have been closing at an exponential rate, and in most cases, there haven't been any kind of resolutions in regard to how those services are going to be encountered. Now we're under another situation in which a restructuring is beginning to happen. And we're fortunate here now to be with Mr. Tom Jackson, Attorney Tom Jackson, Esquire.
Yep.
And Mr. Jackson is the immediate past president of the Garden State Bar Association, but he's also the chairman of the board of UMDNJ. And many of us know UMDNJ is the institution that's really in the heart of Newark, New Jersey, and specifically what it has done in terms of helping the quality of life in our communities has been exceptional, especially since the time that it was first built. You've talked many of times about the history of UMDNJ, but the existence of it is a conglomerate. There's a number of different schools and how it really affects our community in many ways, even in terms of people who can't even afford to pay for the services. It's been a pillar of quality of life in our community. Is it being destroyed by the current administration?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And just one correction, I'm the chairman of the board of the hospital.
Okay.
And I would say the thing to remember is, and you pointed out, that the formation of UMDNJ and of the hospital actually dates back to the Newark Accords, and that's really critical to remember. That's to remember, because what was the question? The question at that particular time was, how do we make sure we get affordable health care, excellent quality, affordable health care? So it was taking this hospital and building onto it a premier medical school or academic research facility, right? And that's what you have today. That is at issue, and that is what's at threat right now. So most people don't recognize the accolades that University Hospital and UMDNJ receives from around the world.
Right.
The students, the caliber of students that it attracts because of the quality of the education and the opportunity for people to actually, for new budding physicians and surgeons to come and practice state-of-the-art healthcare. So what is happening? You've got a governor that has decided that he's going to make his political career on the backs and the health of this community. He's going to simply split up this incredible institution. And you know what? Our community, we've got to say something about this.
Well, the complexity of it certainly really creates a void.
Yeah.
And especially when we don't have the kind of resources that can share with us how it actually evolves.
Yeah.
One of the problems that we do recognize is that there are two separate businesses. And that's what it really is. It's a business. Share with us exactly what that structure really curtails.
So it's actually more that you've got the medical school, the New Jersey Medical School. You've got the dental school that's there. You've got the behavioral sciences school. You've got the cancer center. And you've got the hospital. So you got,
and all of this was built around the current process in terms of how it's been administered.
That's exactly
right. Now, there were some financial problems, and even before the governor was elected, he was the attorney in charge of making sure that whatever those problems were corrected. That kind of problem escalated this decision that's being made.
Well, and I think people need to understand those problems that you're alluding to, those issues existed long before the current administration, and frankly, long before Governor Christie ever was in the U.S. Attorney's office. Those problems go back many, many, many generations, and so hats off to then U.S. Attorney Christie for bringing them to the fore. But frankly, the university is a very different place today. Most people don't understand. The hospital actually turned a profit for the first time
right?
under the administration of this
hospital.
The hospital.
What about the school?
You know, and the school has still some work to do in getting there. But the point of the matter is that the school is much more financially sound today. There is a compliance structure that frankly is world class across the university and the hospital today that didn't exist before. It is a very different place. But this administration still looks at it through a very dated lens. It still thinks that those problems which existed when the governor was the U.S. attorney still existed. That is a lens of convenience. It is not a lens of fact. A lens of political convenience, because remember what the governor's objective is. The governor's objective isn't the citizens of New Jersey. The governor's objective is to play on the national theater. What we've got to do is make sure that we have our own interest at heart.
But you don't think he's really trying to find a way where the taxpayers who pretty much are involved with keeping the economy of those facilities running do not have to continue to be part of that burden?
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. Because if that was the issue, he'd leave it alone. Frankly, it is already on a wonderful trajectory towards financial solvency. Frankly, the leadership that is in place today have the ability to make it a very strong institution. We're looking at this strategically.
Well, let me talk about the leadership. How did you get to be the chairman?
So back in 2005, the legislature enacted new legislation in which they created a separate board for the hospital than for the university.
At one time it was all together.
And at one time it was all together. And their decision was that they needed a board of directors who had a fiduciary duty to protect the best interests of the hospital. We did not get impaneled until August of 2007.
Now, this was, I guess, obviously under the Corzine administration.
That's exactly right. We did not get impaneled until 2007. And in 2007, Governor Corzine asked me to serve as the chairman of the board, and he did that because of my background of having served on Governor Cody's budget task force and having served on his own transition task force for the New Jersey budget. So he wanted someone with a sound financial and business background that could serve on the board. And so one of the things we did when we immediately came in was we established routine meetings of the board. We established a set of business metrics for the hospital. So at each of our board meetings, there is a dashboard and a set of metrics that the hospital management has to report on. And then what we did was we began going after some of the most troublesome financial issues that the hospital had. And that's why today, here we are 5 years later, the hospital with a sound strategic plan, a very good administration in place with Jim Gonzalez and his team, and we have now the hospital having, in fact, a profit. And still delivering outstanding services
for the community. As a community-based organization.
Absolutely.
But this new restructuring process is really destroying the complex itself and pretty much delivering the businesses to separate entities.
Look, and to that point, I would say this. I would say, again, the real issue for the community is, what does the community want? Because University Hospital would not exist, UMDNJ would not exist, if the folks whose shoulders we stand on, if those folks hadn't asked that question, what do we as a community want and what do we need?
Right.
That's the imperative where everything must start. And if, in fact, it's the community's view that separating these particular institutions is in the community's best interest, then let's have that discussion. But the community should be engaged and should shape both the questions and the answers. Otherwise, we will be left out. We will be left out of affordable, excellent health care, and that cannot be.
Do you think the privatization strategy is going to work?
I hope not. I hope not in its current formation. I hope not.
But you got to be explicit about that.
Yeah.
When you say you hope not, in terms of why the strategy of privatization, or that the ability for the idea to be successful will fail, which would cause this whole entire environment to close down?
You say okay, so now I'm a lawyer.
You know what I'm trying to
I'm a
go.
lawyer.
Yeah.
The definition of terms is important.
Right.
you have to understand that privatization, as it is pushed by this administration, means complete privatization. And here's what that looks like. Privatization, as conservatives tend to think of it, is a way that they go after busting up unions, because private companies aren't held to the same standard as governmental entities. Privatization allows for no-bid contracts.
Well,
right?
Right.
You know, privatization, and you have to understand this is in some respects, when you talk privatization and you're talking from a conservative movement, which is a national movement, you're talking about the transfer of wealth out of urban communities into suburban communities, into exurban communities.
Right.
Okay, so that's why I say I hope that it does not succeed. Okay, now if you talk to me about, is there an opportunity for a public-private partnership, then I would say absolutely there's an opportunity for that. Okay, but you understand, I put public first in that partnership because I put community first. You know, the needs of the community must outweigh the needs of those who are pursuing wealth.
As far as the outcry is concerned, and what will have to be mobilized in relationship to look at a better idea, are there concepts being offered beyond what the governor is indicating that he really wants to consider?
Not at this time. The university itself is exploring a number of ideas, which I'm not at liberty to talk about today, a number of ideas which I think are going to be important. But I think that this process is somewhat turned on its head. And I think it is our responsibility as the fiduciaries of the hospital to get it right-sized. And that's why one of the things we'll be talking about is having our own set of hearings as a board to talk to the community, to find out what it really wants and what it really needs, and then make sure that becomes part of the discourse.
You know, it's really encouraging to our viewers that they understand the magnitude of what this really is, and how it really develops a condition that if we're not proactive about it, the reaction from it can be devastating. We certainly are appreciative to you for at least sharing with us some of those terms that are really important, and many of the individuals who certainly would like to be more interested about it can be able to support you in your effort to raise that awareness and make sure that people in Essex County understand that it's not just Essex County that's going to be really impacted behind this situation. This is a statewide issue that needs to be addressed and identified with. Do you think, knowing exactly how this governor has reacted when there haven't been any positive relationships about his motives, do you think he would do anything vindictive about you being chairman?
You know, it's I can't worry about that. I learned a long time ago that you simply have to do what you think is right, you know, and all those other things will take care of themselves. And so not being chairman of this board is not going to stop me from raising these issues and ensuring that the community has a voice in this process.
You know, that's spoken like a true leader, true warrior, someone that I certainly love to work and partner with. We Care Partners is behind you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for tuning in.